our reach, like we've gotten 10 to 20 to 30 million views on some of our posts alone.
Hello and welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's guest I've known for a long time is Dr. Ramtin Kassir. He's a celebrity facial plastic surgeon practicing over 25 years with a Manhattan office, a medspa on Park Avenue in New York City, and a second location in New Jersey, and sees consults in Germany. So we'll talk more about that. Now, Dr. Ramtin received most of his training in Texas and a fellowship from the University of Florida, and since has performed more than 10,000 surgical procedures. Now, he's an active member of several professional societies and frequent speaker at conferences. He also trains other surgeons on his innovative facelifting techniques, which we'll talk more about, and he's appeared in numerous TV and print media outlets. Now, Dr. Kassir is also a talented artist and sculptor who has been on multiple mission trips to his home country of Iran to provide surgical care to the underprivileged. Dr. Kassir, welcome to Beauty and the Biz.
Thanks for having me, Catherine.
Yeah, it took us a minute, but I'm glad we figured this out. I want to talk about Iran, if you don't mind, because some of you have some pretty interesting stories. How did you get from Iran to Texas to Florida to Park Avenue?
Good question. It's actually a good story. So, my mother was, she had a bachelor degree in arts and textiles and fashion design, but there was no post-bac program in the university at the time. So Texas Women's University happened to be there. They said, we need the top student. It was my mom. So she got a scholarship to go to Denton, Texas, North Texas, just north of Dallas, to get to study and get her master's and her PhD, which she did in 2.5 years. Didn't even know English, so she learned English and did all that in 2.5 years. So here we came to the U.S. and we would go back and forth for the summers to catch up over there. And when we went back to stay, and my mother got her degree, that was December of 1978. But as she was making plans to come back, the revolution was happening. And she told my father that I'm not coming back. You got to send the kids. And lo and behold, one night in the middle of the night, our dad woke us up and said, we got to get out of here. And we were on an airplane. I remember it was January 12th, 1979. The plane sat on the tarmac for probably about 4 or 5 hours. We didn't think we were going to leave. Finally, the plane took off. We made it out. A day later, the Shah left, and 3 days later, Khomeini came, and that was it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So your first taste of America was Texas?
Our first taste of America was North Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Thick accents. We spoke English, but it was it took a while to get used to it, to get adjusted.
Texas doesn't have normal accents. I can barely understand them, for
That's
heaven's
right.
sakes.
No, it was a great place to grow up.
That's great. And then how did you end up in Florida?
So I did all my training. I went to University of Texas at Austin, so I'm a Longhorn, and then went to University of Texas Medical Branch for med school and residency. And then my fellowship I did with Richard and Ed Ferrier in Tampa at the time and at USF. So that's what took me there. And I remember thinking, Florida's a great place. I should probably stay here. But something told me I want to see New York. So I came here and I ended up staying. That was 28 years ago.
Wow. And then did you go straight into private practice, join somebody else's group? How did you
I
handle
went, I went straight into private practice. I had an aunt here who did dermatology, so she kind of helped me out a little bit. But no, went straight into private practice. Came up here and rented a office on Park Avenue on Wednesdays, just from 2 to 5.
Wow.
Yeah,
How did you know how to do that? How did you
I
know how
didn't
to get
know.
a business license and a LLC and all of that?
I didn't know, and sometimes ignorance is bliss. So I didn't know. I didn't know that there was 500 plastic surgeons here. I didn't know that it was so difficult to do all this. I was just moving forward, and nothing was stopping me. And I had $200,000 in debt.
That'll do it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fast forward all these years, tell us, what does your practice look like today?
So we have offices. We have a beautiful office and in-office surgery suite on 65 East 66th Street, and it's amazing. It's a big, beautiful office. And what's really amazing about it, it used to be the office of Dan Baker, who's a,
Oh,
who's like the king and the god of plastic surgery and facelifting and everything, and he kind of set um, the trends and developed this field so much and gave so much to this field. So he's a dear friend and colleague, and he's still here, by the way. And we up the street on 799 Park Avenue, we have our med spa and our wellness center. So that's Manhattan. And then in New Jersey, we have a beautiful surgery center and office and also another wellness center there.
holy cow. And then how often do you go to Germany to do consults?
Germany, my wife, who's a plastic surgeon, is from Munich. So we probably go there 2, 3 times a year. And literally, it's not even that much planning. We announce when I'm getting on the plane that I'm going to be in Germany. And by the time I land there, we have like 10 consults.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
How do you make that happen? Is it Instagram getting the word out, or how are you doing that?
It's everything, like social media. The people that we know there. We know a lot of the medical community there, and so we just have to kind of like tell the right people. But it's got to have a staff that's dedicated. It's a lot of people that make you look good.
Right. So now you also have a new associate. A younger guy came on board. I believe he's body. So are you neck up? He's neck down. How are you
We
working
are,
that?
but he's body. He's well trained. He's Cornell trained. He's amazing. But he does face also.
Mm,
So there's plenty to go around, and he's just great. I think he developed his face a little bit more after hanging out here and being
I'll
here. But
bet.
he's and just an excellent surgeon and an outstanding human. So it's amazing. It works. It's great.
How did you two find each other? Because those relationships can be challenging.
Serendipitous. Uh, my son went to the same preschool as one of his attendings in Cornell when he was a resident, and so Jackson and my son, had a party. We met their mother, and she's like, "You guys got to come to my Christmas party." And at the Christmas party is where we met. And I said, "Oh, listen, what are you going to do when you finish?" And here we are.
Wow. So was there much vetting going on, or it was just a party? Yeah.
It was a party, and all the attending. He's an amazing guy, but
Mm,
all of his attendings would talk about it. They said, like, this is the best of the best. Everybody gave him stellar recommendations. And
wow.
he's German, and my wife is German, and they
Oh
went
my
to
God.
gone to the same school. So, um, yeah, it's like I got two Germans in my life.
Right? Good or bad. Yeah. I've
Great,
actually,
no, great.
yeah.
Germans are great. They're very direct. They're amazing. So there's no, like, you don't have to read between the lines.
I will tell you, my last two boyfriends were German, and I appreciate the succinctness and how organized they are and how clean and orderly. I did appreciate a lot of the German characteristics.
Right.
Not enough to marry them, but they were that's another story. So tell me, regarding your staff, you've got a pretty big team there. Can you go through who's on board?
Right. So we have a kind of director of operations, and then we have, people on the phones. We have a cosmetic coordinator. We have a social media person. We have residents coming and going. We do not have a fellowship program. We had one, but then, they have to be sanctioned through the university and everything. So, but the residents coming through are easier to manage. We constantly have somebody, visiting us from another country or another office. And then we have, the support staff, like the front office people. And then we hire outsource for the little bit of insurance work that we do. We have a third party that does all that.
Gotcha. And then what about the med spa people? They're not in your building, they're down the street, right?
Down the street, we have probably one of the best estheticians. She's amazing. She'll take care of post-op patients, not just her esthetician work, but she'll take at the wellness center. If a patient has had a ton of stuff done, if they're with Maria for 2 days, it looks like they've had nothing done. It's
Huh.
incredible. So she does. She's our head esthetician, and we have a couple of staff there that help her with that.
Are you nurse injectors are on board or no?
We have one nurse injector, and he's about to be a nurse practitioner. And we have another staff who took a year off to get her nursing degree. And now she's back with a nursing degree.
Hello there. Quick pause to ask you if you have gaps in your practice draining your time, profits, and peace of mind. If so, I can help you streamline, grow, and take the guesswork out of your practice. Book your practice growth strategy review at catherinemaley.com, and let's turn those gaps into growth. Now, back to the podcast. I must say, you have a lot of pieces to your puzzle. What's the most challenging part of this?
Uh, the most challenging part. I've been in practice 28 years, so the biggest challenge for me is dedicating enough time to everything else and not just to the business.
Right. And you have little kids now.
I
Yeah.
do. My kids are little. I got started a little late, so trying to get out of here at 5 o'clock and then turn it off
Yeah.
and go home.
Yeah.
You know,
So, in your philosophy, do you think non-surgical is as important as surgical, or are you trying to keep a balance there, kind of setting yourself up to exit someday?
there's I think for people who want to exit, just doing surgical isn't enough. They want, people want to see something that can be scaled. I've always done it, whatever was kind of felt right to me. So we did a ton of injectables in the first 10, 15 years. I remember there were days that I would have literally 80 patients on the schedule, and I would just go from room to room doing Botox and stuff. And that was in
Mm.
probably 2007, 8, 9, in that era. And then, um, you know, the, there was a proliferation of people who did this other than core doctors, and then it became other doctors, and then the nurses, and the PAs got into the mix. So, you know, I think once that happens, it kind of dilutes the results, and it kind of commoditizes things. Fast forward to today and post COVID, we still do injectables, but it's a little bit more judicious. We're fixing more people than before. We're with the public perception and dissatisfaction with a lot of the things that's been going on, especially with the filler migration and the kind of pillow face, if you will. Um, Patients got dissatisfied with that, so I think the surge in facial rejuvenative surgery has occurred, at least for us, and I'm sure it has for other plastic surgeons. So I think the facelift and the brow and all those kind of surgical interventions have gone up. The age of patients that seeking these things has gone down too. So instead of getting a lot of fillers till they're 55, now somebody comes in at like 42 and says, "What do you think? I don't want fillers anymore. I don't want energy devices that have melted my fat. I don't want to get threads that don't last. What can you do for me?" So the average age has come down. So I would say that the surgical practice is even busier than it was, even though it's always been busy. The non-surgical practice has stayed steady for us. Um, we just don't do an energy device or standard things on everyone because we have to pay off a $200,000 laser.
Right. So if you have two med spas then, right, in two different
We do,
locations?
we do.
How are you managing all of that? Let me say it this way. Do you recommend surgeons have satellite offices? Because I realize a lot of you do that to fill up your surgical schedule. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Do you wish you could get out of that? Are you tired of running around? What's your feeling
Um,
on that?
it's I probably wouldn't recommend it if you're starting out, and if you're solid in one location. One location is plenty. You can do your med spa and your surgery all in the same place. It eliminates a lot of driving and such. we're in two different states, but those two different states, the locations have to happen to be 8 miles apart. So they're relatively close, but it's still, a lot to manage. My father used to say, one office, one headache, two offices, 10 headaches, three offices, 100 headaches.
Is that true?
It is. I mean, there's, again, you have to have good management, good team behind you, but it's a lot to do, especially just having, brick and mortar places at different places. There's always something. It's like owning a house. There's always something that needs attention.
And if you're not watching carefully, that's where all the funny money stories happen, you know? I'm assuming you've had issues with that as well. Didn't you had family? Is that helpful to have family come in and help?
Yeah, it is. I mean, for somebody who cares about your practice as much as you do, there's a lot of my friends that I know who have, their wives or their husbands running their practice helping. I think that dynamic is a special dynamic if it works, as long as you don't get in each other's way and doesn't get in the way of your marriage. But I've had people who think that running a practice is easy. Oh, let me see, I'll come help you with that. And then they realize it's harder than anything that they've done. So running a medical practice, especially, and it's so emotionally charged, and patients are so um, anxious, whether they admit it or not, to do something and get a result, and you manage the whole thing. It's just a lot of work. So I think selling something is much easier than doing a medical practice, especially an aesthetic medical practice. So yes, having family be around and keep an eye on things is nice, but you just have to have the right culture, and hopefully people buy into it, and support you and you support them.
Right. Another interest you have outside of your practice is training other surgeons on your innovative techniques. Can you talk about your mastery course?
Yeah, so we have a facelift and rhinoplasty master course this year. It's April 24th to the 27th, 4 days. I'm really excited about it. We already have, I think, about 100 people that have registered, and we have over 35 just outstanding, amazing, distinguished national, international faculty. The first day is all rhinoplasty and 2 live surgeries. I'm going to be doing a live surgery. Dr. Mark Monty is going to be doing live surgery. And then the next day, we start into the facelifts, where Sam Risk and Ben Talay are going to be doing surgeries, live surgeries. And then, didactics by, curated talks and videos from, all my colleagues all over the world. And then Saturday, we go to Cornell University the whole day and have a whole day of a cadaver lab, where we start from the top and work our way to the bottom in terms of rhino, facelifting, brow lifting, everything. And, from being in past courses, that's where, that's where the rubber meets the road. In other words, that's where you really put it together, and like the aha moments come in. And this is for novice, intermediate, and seasoned surgeons. They all, like, everybody learns something. And then the last day we talk about, more didactics and theory. And then we also have a marketing and branding session that is, again, just pithy and so effective. And we have an honored guest who I'm talking to right now, who's going to be talking about some things.
I'll be there.
That's right. Catherine's going to be there, guys. Whoever's listening, she's going to be there. She's going to give you the distilled, version of, like, now that I know all this, how do I put it together, and how do I collapse time? So I will say this: when I came out, and it is what it is, but when I came out, there were no videos to see how you do surgery. If you hadn't seen somebody in the operating room, and going over and looking at somebody for 2 hours, you don't get to look at that video over and over again. You don't get to rewind it. You don't get to see exactly what they do. And you don't get to really study it that way. So if I had something like this, where I equate it to doing, 35 mini fellowships, in 4 days, like going all over the world and doing all these fellowships. And then, because the top of the top are here teaching you, and then you put it together on a cadaver, and you actually make the moves, and, kind of distill it for yourself. And then when you leave, you have the knowledge of the marketing and the branding too. So I would have signed up for this 10 times over, and I think I would have collapsed at least 10 to 20 years. You still need to get out there and do your work, but just the knowledge and can I do this? Should I do this? What is it going to look like? Am I going to, have a complication? All of this just collapses, because you've talked to people who've done it for their whole life.
Well, you have some heavy hitters coming to that thing. I'm going to really bring my A game too. There's
Bring it.
nothing, education on steroids is you watch a video, then you look over someone's shoulder who's actually doing it. So you see it real time, and then you have hands-on training as well. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So
It really doesn't. I mean, as I say, if I was any level of surgeon and I wanted to, you know, um, up my game or elevate my game, this is what I would do. And my, you know, um, um, mantra for this course is come and transform your practice.
nice.
And it's really exciting, and everyone learns. Everybody checks their ego at the door. You come in and you're just learning and teaching.
Oh, I can't wait. Is there a special website you have that they can go to, and is registration open?
And the registration's open, and it's www.nycfaceliftmastercourse.com.
And we'll put that in the show notes as well. So let's talk about marketing because you happen to be an expert at that. And I watch you for years. I'm just trying to figure out what you're doing to have this endless stream of cash paying patients. Now, I know you've put a lot into PR in the old days, but let me ask you that. Is PR still the answer? Because it used to be everything to have a housewife. But now, I don't know, do people still watch cable or watch, like what's your feeling on that now? The old days PR and the new days PR?
I'm a believer that everything counts, and there's no such thing as
True.
overexposure. But when I got here, I remember thinking, how does somebody know that I even exist? And this was in 1997. So you either had money back then to get a PR person who promoted you in all these magazines and everything that everybody read, and those are the credible things, or you took out an ad in the yellow pages, which was silly, and back then I thought was not on par with my imagined brand, or word of mouth. But for word of mouth, you had to like physically exist somewhere and see X amount of patients, so those patients would tell other patients and so on. So it was hard. It was like, one conversation at a time back then. Today, I don't think PR matters that much because our reach, like we've gotten 10 to 20 to 30 million views on some of our posts alone. So, it's if the PR venue is you can do the math and it has a decent ROI, it's worth it. If not, I don't think it is worth it. So that's for the PR. But I just think today you do have to have a product that is amazing, which means you have to have amazing technical skill and amazing results. But getting it out there, other than word of mouth, I think helps. So I think proper, social media and YouTube and education helps.
Mm-hmm. And then, how about the out of towners? Your branding is very good. It looks like people are flying in from all over the world to see you. And I don't know if they are or not, but it looks good. Is that really happening? Is it more marketing? Because it's a
No,
pain in the neck to have these people come in from out of
it
town because now
is,
they have to
it is, and it
stay.
isn't. There's a lot of work to be done, but it is
Yeah,
happening. I think like something north of 62, 63% of our patients are from out of the country.
no kidding.
About 70, probably mid 70s are out of the country and out of the tri-state area. We call like New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut out of the
Hmm.
tri-state area. So, last Friday we had a family come in from Norway. I did um, rhinoplasty and a little neck lift on the 25-year-old daughter. She's beautiful, but she had some issues. The mother got a endoscopic deplane brow, face, and neck lift, rhinoplasty, and laser resurfacing. And the reason she had the endoscopic approach is one, she even though she was 65, she was a good candidate for it, and she smoked, so we didn't want to make the incisions around the ears and risk any kind of like poor healing. And
Yeah.
then after that, all on the same day, the father did deep plane face and neck lift, deep plane brow lift, fat transfer. He had acne scarring, and then laser resurfacing. So, started at like 7 in the morning, finished at 6 p.m. But everybody was happy. Everybody went to the wellness center, and a week later, they're all back in Norway.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
I hope you put that on Instagram, right?
we did, but they're kind of private, so they let me do some live videos, but they haven't allowed me to post their pictures. I mean, if you post those pictures, like, but I'm working on it.
Wow. I mean, the whole family. That's a pretty good one. Yeah, that's great. And you're also like the cutting edge on trends. You already mentioned the patients are getting younger, but also even the older patients. I love hearing the like late 70s, early 80s. They're on their fourth facelift. I love that. That means they're still in the game. They still care. What kind of trends are happening that you see other than age?
Let's see. I think people are doing less volume with fillers. I think, at least what they're telling me, they're doing even less energy devices. Um, the threading and all of that, I think it's just taking a pause. And I think patients, want better results. They want more long-term results. And they're learning that two of our mantras are there's no shortcuts to quality, and it's better to it's better to do something properly once and not just go for the cheapest solution.
We consumers cannot help ourselves. You know why? Because we know surgery would be the best bet, but who's got the downtime and all of that? So then on the other hand, you have a million others saying to you, "Oh, you don't need surgery. We'll fix that up for you. No problem. No downtime, no scarring, no pain, no anything." And they instead of paying one time, you're paying 10 times. I've done this myself so many times. I just go, you know what I'll do is just do a quick fix and it's like 2000. By the time I'm done, I should have just done the darn thing and gotten it over with. And
Right.
you just you have to figure out where they're at in their mindset and in their finances and their physicality and all of that. So wherever you can get them at right at the beginning, like when they're just working on this, you get them for Botox and then they work their way up the hill, to surgery, or the other way around. They do surgery and you take good care of them. And the secret was recovery. You have some, I think that's going to be one of the biggest trends from now on. Can you get me up and out again socially faster than the other guy? I think that there's
it,
something to that.
it's true. I mean, you'll see at the course when you come, they're all going to come exhibit, but we have hyperbaric oxygen,
Hmm.
and at the least, I mean, people think it's just for athletes, but it's not. We use it for facelifting, rhinoplasty, any kind of surgery, pre-surgery, post-surgery, and you can kind of tell how incisions heal
Hmm.
10 days after based on how many, like, you can look at an incision now and say, this one had 7 hyperbaric oxygen, this one had only 2. You can just see the level it is. And and it's good because the more they have, the faster it heals, and it's just dramatic. And
Huh.
then we also have the photobiomodulation with LED light. I'll put in a plug for the company. The one we have is called Elixir MD, but it's really effective, and we're pretty much putting this as a program for everybody that has surgery right now. We did a full face rejuvenation on a patient from Florida yesterday. She went to the wellness center yesterday. She's had, the yellow light every day. She's going to get hyperbaric oxygen every day. She's going to get lymphatic drainage every day, and she's going to have IV infusion. So, um, independent of all that, she would have healed well. This just accelerates it before your eyes, and every little thing matters. Every little thing counts, especially when they're out of town. So she's going to get on a plane in, I think, 9 days and go back to Florida, and she's going to look amazing.
Nice. Nice. So how are you? I checked out your Instagram. You have a million followers. How did you make that happen? Yeah.
A million followers. So, we started posting, I think, in 2013, and everyone came and said, you got to do this and you got to do that. And the bottom line is, you kind of have to do your own style and what you think matters to people. And so for us, it was just seeing what patients cared about and talking about that, and putting a result like, you want to know about a facelift? Here's somebody, here's me marking them, and everybody does that now. If you look at everybody's Instagram, and
Yeah.
I can prove it that I was the first one to do it, but um, you mark them now. Everybody, I just now, before I got on the phone with you, somebody in Iran has taken some of my patients and, like, flat out, no shame at all, has my before and afters behind them,
Oh my
and is
gosh.
talking about, oh yeah, this is what happens when you do that. This is what happens. And the usual thing is, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, but no, it's not, because it's, first of all, it's my patient, not yours, and you're
Hmm.
deceiving people.
Hmm.
So, but no, it's you just talk about what you're doing and educate people.
Because of AI, it's more important than ever to watermark and date everything, because if you were getting ripped off before, you're really going to be now when AI
100%,
kicks in.
100%. I mean, but we do it. They still take it off. Like, we watermark, but all that, they still take it off. So,
No
I
kidding.
mean, even in front of patients, talking with them, but then they take me off too. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So what about, how are you getting the photo consents? Because you're showing an awful lot of patients, and one thing you're doing that I tell everybody to do, get the patient to market you. Get the just talk to the patient and talk to them like a normal person, and let the patient talk about how great you are and how great the
That,
result is.
that's there's nothing as powerful as a
Mhm.
testimonial. So that's you're absolutely right. We don't, I think we get less and less people that want to allow us to post, because they think that everybody knows us, and they probably
Mhm.
do. But it's not. I mean, we have so many patients, thank God, knock on wood, but the ones that allow us, but I flat out ask them, like, listen, are you okay with me showing this? And if they are, we put it together and show it to them, like, here's what it's going to look like. Are you still okay? Yes. Then we put it up. But there's like 90% of our patients that I can show you in the office, like, they won't let us. If they did, we'd have runaway posts for 10 years.
I think that's the consensus. It's like 1 out of 10 will say yes, to the to website and Instagram, and the others, some of them will say only in the office,
Right,
and then some will say I'm not interested. So,
right.
do you find that it's just plain numbers? It's just a numbers game.
It's just a numbers game. And I don't blame patients, but because there's a lot of scrutiny out there, and whether it's a bot writing a review, or somebody else, family member or friend or whatever, they just don't want to hear other people's opinions, and everybody has them. Like, what'd you do? Where'd you go? Why'd you go? And nobody wants to be criticized or judged, and there's a lot of that going on in social media.
So you also have 600 reviews, Google reviews.
Yeah.
So how did you make? What are your tips? How are you making that happen, or is it just sheer persistence? You've just been at this a long time, and
No, I
you've
mean,
always made it a priority.
I've been at it a long time. Like, people, usually people that are annoyed end up writing more reviews than people who are happy. But
Totally.
because people are happy, they
Yeah.
just want to go and not, like, oh, this is me. I didn't get any surgery, like, so. So sometimes you have to flat out ask. Sometimes
Yep.
if they're happy, you're like, listen, do you mind, sharing that experience, and so on. So, but I think, people get reminded, and even if I remind you right now to do something, as soon as you hang up the phone with me, you're going to get 20 texts, and
Right.
then there should be a verb for that, for when you look to your phone to text something, and then a week later you remember it again. So,
I do it all the time.
yeah. So we, it's an effort, but the happy patients, you get them to, like, talk about it a little bit, and then that's it. But now they even say, oh, well, but my name comes up on Google and everybody knows you. It's like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. What about when you do get a negative review? Do you have a system or a sentence that you say when do you respond online and
We should. Now we're starting to respond a little bit more.
because Google wants you to.
Google wants you to, and then if you respond, at least somebody else reads and hears your side. First, when the first came out, you were so upset about it, and that you take it personally.
Yeah.
But that there's so much emotion built into these things, that when you get some of these people on the phone who wrote a negative review, and they'll say something that's totally not related, right? And then you realize that their head was just totally somewhere else, and you were like, you were the punching bag.
Yeah.
You were the damn it doll.
But is there anything like any tips for others? Just overall, you make this look easy, and I know better. I know how difficult all of this is, and managing all of these people and patients and expectations and results. There's a lot to that. Any tips for others trying to make it, especially could you have picked a more competitive jungle to work in? Any tips for others coming up who want to play a bigger game?
I would tell them, just love and respect your patients. Always be upfront with them. I can do this. I cannot do this. You're being unrealistic. I have staff here who can tell you there is I saw probably 7 rhinoplasty consults today, another probably 5 or 6 facial rejuvenation facelift patients. One rhinoplasty patient, came in, with a laptop and everything. And I said, listen, you're just obsessed. You're not ready to have this done right now. And then she's telling me about how some other doctor told her about the technique and she wanted to know about the technique. I said, first of all, we're not talking about that because it doesn't matter what technique I use. You and I have to be on the same page. But right now you have too much doubt. So that's going to make you really anxious, and we don't do high maintenance. So this is what we can do. And so
Mhm.
be just upfront. Say, you're my type of patient, you're not my type of patient, and learn to say no. I showed that in my talk. Learn to say no. That's the best thing you can do.
Well, you know what? You have a tendency, the surgeons have a tendency to tell the coordinator, just, charge them double. And what happens? They say, okay,
Yeah,
just
sometimes when
be
you charge them
upfront.
double, they sign
Yeah.
up easier. So,
Yeah.
learn
Because
to
now
say
you're hard to
no.
get.
Some of the best mistakes are the ones you don't make.
Right? That's a real, somebody should tweet that or something. Yeah. That is so true. Because you know what? I would just have a canned answer like, you know what? I just don't think we're a good fit, or I
Sure.
just don't think I can give you what you want. I'm sorry.
But if you say you're not a good fit, they'll go write a nasty gram on
Right.
that.
Right.
You know, they will,
Right.
and it just nobody reads it. Like, oh yeah, bad review. He told me this. Yeah,
Right.
told you the truth.
Yeah. All right. So what exactly do you say to stay out of the bad review world?
Um, you know, uh, I just say you need to really go home and think about it, and
Hmm.
get a second opinion, and then if you still want to do this with us, come back and we'll do another consult.
Okay, that's a good tip. Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. And while we're talking about patients, any crazy patient or staff story you care to share? I'll bet you have a few.
Crazy patient or staff story. Uh, Let me think of some good ones. Crazy patient or staff story. Like patients will call you up. Everything's good, but then I think these aren't crazy patient stories, but you can tell like they have something going on tomorrow. That maybe they have a surgery, maybe they have, an appointment for something, and if it was like Super Bowl weekend or something that was happening, and then they just call, oh, I had the flu and everything, and then
Oh,
so okay, now you ruined our whole schedule. We have to, move. And then the next day call and say, can you put me in tomorrow? Wait a minute, I just thought you had the flu today. Now you're all of a sudden better. So, so those are some patient stories, but I'm sure there's many, many more. It's just not too many are coming to my head right now.
well, it's amazing how many patients you think they know everything because of the internet. They still think they can call on Wednesday and have surgery on Friday. They
Oh yeah,
don't realize the system and the process and the and how busy you are, you know?
right.
Yeah. That
It is. It's so I've told patients and I've told my staff this. It takes a long time for somebody to be able to make a decision and pull the trigger. But when they're ready, they want it tomorrow. So it took 20 years to figure it out. But now I want it, can I have it tomorrow? Can you do next week? So,
I said in my book, I interviewed a whole bunch of patients, and it's same thing. They looked in the mirror for years. We women will hate ourselves for years before we're finally ready to do it, and then we hit the button, and then we're like,
correct.
okay, ready to go. And you're like, wait a
Correct.
second,
Okay.
there's a process here. But last question, tell us something we don't know about you.
What don't you know about me? Um, I'm a pretty decent chess player.
Ah,
Yeah, probably didn't know
oh,
that. And my
oh,
and the best thing is My son is 7 and destroys me, and I'm very good.
No.
Yeah,
Good for him.
yeah. He's starting to play a lot. So fascinating game. That's my phone time.
Well, but that's more thinking. Don't you want to relax?
No, that's it relaxes me. It's great. I'm telling you, with now you have like chess.com and all these like
Yeah.
WeChess and everything. So, and I've even got some of my surgeon friends playing now, so we can play with each other and stuff online.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's better than gambling. Yeah, you all get together and gamble. Get together and play
100%.
chess.
Yeah, I can't. I'm too ADD to play poker and sit around.
Well, maybe if plastic surgery doesn't work out, your son will pick up the pace, huh?
Maybe we'll see.
Huh?
We'll see. It's
All right.
interesting. You
Well,
should come to a chess tournament.
I was forced to play chess as a child, and
Uh-huh.
I didn't love it because I found that like I'm a little hyper, and I thought this is the most boring game I've ever played.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
but I
Interesting.
love the idea of it, like being 3 steps ahead. I love
Right.
this strategy of it. Now that I'm older, I really appreciate it. Did you watch
Right.
the Netflix chess thing with the blonde?
With the Queen's Gambit, yes, and
That
I think that really propelled chess, and that
that
now
was
it's not
excellent,
even, yeah, it's not even a nerdy thing to do anymore because
right?
there's all sorts of streamers and influencers that are playing chess, and they're beautiful and they're women and they're like 24 and they're playing chess and they look like supermodels, and they're really good. They have like 2,400 ratings, 1,800 ratings. Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you think you have to be born with that skill, or can you learn it?
I think you can learn it. I think you can learn it. With anything else, I think some people are much better at it. But there was this book, I think everyone should read this, called The Talent Code by Daniel Cole. Have you read it?
Yes.
Yeah. So it just pretty much says that talent's overrated and it's learned and you're not born with it. And you have to have ignition, which is something that makes you interested in something. He calls it deep practice, where you actually practice the right way, and
Mhm.
you build myelin around those pathways of neurons in your brain to do whatever it is.
Mhm.
And mentor, you need a proper mentor.
There you go. All right. Dr. Kassir, it is always a pleasure to speak with you. I can't wait to see you in New York. I'm going to bring my best. And that course, I highly, highly recommend it. I've heard a lot of the surgeons talking about it. So please go to, I think it's New York, NYC
NYC
Facial Plus.
faceliftmastercourse.com
Okay.
or at NYC facelift master course on Instagram.
Okay. And if they did want to check out your website, drkassir.com, is that right?
drkassir.com.
All
See
right.
you
And it's
guys in New
spelled
York.
what?
I said, see you guys in New York.
All right, we'll be in New York. Thank you, everybody. And that is going to wrap it up for us this time. If you would please subscribe and give me a review at Beauty in the Biz podcast. And if you've got any questions or feedback for me, please leave them on my website at catherinemaley.com, or you can certainly DM me on Instagram at catherinemaley.mba. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon.
The fastest way to success is to model other successful surgeons who have what you want, but you can only see their results, not the path they took to get there. So you continue to jump from one thing to another, hoping to find something that will work for you too. But it rarely does. So try this shortcut instead. It's guaranteed to move you forward. I compiled my intellectual property to grow cosmetic revenues, everything I've gleaned over the years, into one playbook of the most successful practices and what they do to win. Go to cosmeticpracticevault.com and let's grow your cosmetic revenues.